The sound wasn't loud. That was what scared me most. It came from the corner of the room, a soft, wet dragging noise, like fingers sliding slowly across fabric. Not scratching, not tapping, dragging. I tried to turn my head. I couldn't. The ceiling fan above me was still, yet the shadows moved anyway, bending and stretching like they were breathing. Cold pressed down on my chest, heavier than the winter air seeping through the window cracks. My breath came shallow, trapped beneath something unseen. "You're awake," I told myself. I could see my bedroom clearly, the peeling paint near the doorframe, the glow of snowlight leaking through the blinds, the dark shape of my wardrobe. Everything was familiar, except the corner. Something stood there now. Tall, thin, too still. It leaned forward, slowly, as if listening to my thoughts. I tried to scream. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. The dragging sound stopped. Then, right beside my ear, something whispered. Not a word, not a sentence. Just my name, spoken wrong, like it had learned it by listening from very far away. The weight on my chest pressed harder. The thing in the corner smiled. And that's when I realized I wasn't dreaming. The scream ripped out of me before I understood where I was. It tore through the dark like something escaping a cage. Hoarse, broken, real. My body lurched upright as if yanked by invisible hands. My lungs burned. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard it hurt. Light flooded the room as my shaking fingers slapped the lamp switch. Nothing. No shadow in the corner. No shape by the bed. No whisper breathing my name. Just my bedroom. The same low ceiling. The same cracked paint near the door. The same thin curtains glowing faintly with reflected snowlight from outside. The heater hummed weakly, fighting a winter it was already losing. I sat there for a long time, hugging my knees, listening to my own breathing like it belonged to someone else. Sleep paralysis, I told myself. The word felt safe. Scientific. Distant. Something that happened to other people. People online, people in documentaries, people who liked horror stories too much. Not me. I checked the clock. 3:17 a.m. Outside, the world was frozen and quiet. Snow muted everything. Even the wind sounded tired. I got out of bed and walked the house, flipping on every light. The hallway. The kitchen. The bathroom. Each familiar space reassured me. Solid floors, locked doors, windows sealed tight against the cold. Nothing had changed. And yet, something had. When I returned to the bedroom, my eyes went straight to the corner. I hadn't noticed before, but the shadows there felt deeper, thicker, like the darkness was layered instead of flat. I stared until my eyes ached, waiting for it to move. It didn't. That should have comforted me. It didn't. By morning, exhaustion sat behind my eyes like bruises. I went to work on autopilot. Coffee burning my tongue as I swallowed it too fast. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Conversations drifted past me without meaning. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Saying it out loud would make it real. That night I tried to prepare. I searched articles. Medical explanations. Forums filled with calm, reasonable people explaining the science behind it all. REM sleep. Muscle atonia. Hallucinations shaped by fear. Common symptoms include pressure on the chest, inability to move, sensing a presence. I stopped reading. The presence part lingered in my head like a bad taste. I left the TV on when I went to bed. A low murmur of voices, laughter canned and artificial. I slept with the lamp on. I told myself that if it happened again, I would stay calm. I would ride it out. Winter pressed against the house like a patient animal. At some point I fell asleep. I woke instantly. Not slowly. Not groggily. Fully aware. My eyes flew open, heart already racing, and my body did not respond. Panic bloomed sharp and immediate. I tried to move my fingers. Nothing. My legs were dead weight. My arms might as well have belonged to someone else. Even my jaw refused me. Only my eyes moved, darting wildly around the room. The TV was still on, but the sound had stopped. The screen glowed blue and silent. Something was wrong with the air. It felt heavier, thicker, like breathing through fabric. A crushing weight settled on my chest, pressing me into the mattress. Don't panic, I thought desperately. This is normal. This is what they described. Then I heard it. Breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Not synced with mine. It came from behind me. The mattress dipped. Just slightly. The pressure on my chest increased, as if whatever had settled there was adjusting its weight. I wanted to scream. My mouth opened. No sound came out. The breathing leaned closer. A voice, so quiet it almost blended with my thoughts, brushed against my ear. Still awake, terror detonated inside me. I tried to thrash, to pray, to black out. Nothing worked. The voice chuckled, a sound too dry to be human. You shouldn't fight it, it whispered. That makes winter longer. The darkness behind my eyes swelled, and just as suddenly as it began, the weight vanished. I gasped violently, rolling onto my side, choking on air. The TV sound snapped back to life. My body obeyed again, trembling uncontrollably. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. In the morning, I found something that erased any lingering doubt. On the side of my bed, pressed into the fabric, was the clear outline of a hand. Long fingers, slightly bent, as if someone had been gripping the mattress. The imprint slowly faded as I watched. By the time the sun rose higher, it was gone. But the feeling wasn't. And deep down, beneath the fear and denial, a single thought took root, cold and unavoidable. Whatever visited me last night wasn't just in my head. It knew I was awake. And next time, it wouldn't leave so quickly. After the handprint faded, I stopped pretending. Sleep paralysis was supposed to leave nothing behind. No marks. No evidence. Just fear and memory. What I had seen on my mattress was neither illusion nor imagination. It had weight, shape, intention. That realization hollowed me out. I stopped sleeping in my bed. I dragged a blanket to the couch, then the armchair, then the floor. It didn't matter. Wherever I tried to rest, the house seemed to wait. Winter deepened its grip. Snowbanks rose higher than fences. The sky stayed the color of dirty cotton. Days blurred together in pale light and cold silence. And the nights learned me. The third paralysis came without warning. No build-up. No dream. One blink, awake. Next blink. Trapped. I lay on my side this time, facing the wall. The paint chips looked like tiny mouths frozen mid-scream. The pressure on my chest returned, heavier than before, as if gravity itself had increased. I knew better than to look behind me. The room felt occupied. Not crowded, claimed. A whisper slid through the dark. Closer than before. I tried to count. 1, 2, 3. Anything to ground myself. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it might shake me loose. The mattress shifted. Something leaned close enough that my hair stirred. You smell warmer, it murmured. I broke then. Not screaming, sobbing. Silent tears leaked from the corners of my eyes, soaking into the pillow. The thing made a sound that might have been satisfaction. When I woke, the wall was scratched. Not deep gouges. Just faint lines, like someone had dragged fingernails lightly through paint. I didn't tell anyone. I started recording everything instead. Dates, times, sensations. A notebook filled quickly with cramped handwriting and half-legible panic. Patterns emerged. Every episode happened after midnight. Every one during heavy cold. Every one worse than the last. And always, the sense of being observed long before I slept. I felt it when brushing my teeth, when turning off lights, when standing in the shower with my eyes closed, like something learning my routines. The internet became my lifeline. I dug deeper than medical articles this time. Forums buried under layers of outdated design, posts written by people who sounded like me, scared, tired, desperate to be believed. That's where I found the phrase again. The listener. Dozens of accounts. Different countries. Same winter timeline. People described the same progression. First, pressure. Then, presence. Then, voice. Finally, interaction. One post stopped my breathing. Once it speaks clearly, it's already inside the cycle. You're no longer just dreaming. I scrolled shakily. It listens before it touches. It learns you through fear. And winter makes it stronger. My phone buzzed. I flinched so hard it slipped from my hands. A text from an unknown number. Are you sleeping yet? I stared at it, frozen. I didn't reply. The number never texted again. The next episode came while I was still afraid. That mattered. I woke paralyzed on the couch, the TV casting blue shadows across the room. The pressure was lighter this time. Teasing. The listener stood near the window. Moonlight passed through it, bending strangely, like light through water. It tilted its head. Why do you read about us? I tried to answer. To lie. To deny. My mouth didn't move. It drifted closer. Feet never touching the floor. Curiosity tastes like fear, it said. You season yourself. A new sound joined its voice. Whispers layered beneath, dozens of them, murmuring fragments. He knows now. He listens back. Let him hear us. My vision blurred. The thing leaned down until its face hovered inches from mine. Its features weren't monstrous, just wrong. Human shapes arranged incorrectly. Eyes too deep. Smile too patient. Do you want to know who we learned this from? It asked softly. The room changed. I wasn't on the couch anymore. I was in another bedroom, older, smaller. A woman lay frozen on a narrow bed, eyes wide with terror. Frost crawled along the window edges. A man sat beside her, holding her hand. Just sleep, he whispered, voice breaking. It's just a bad dream. The listener stood behind him, unseen. Love makes them generous, it murmured in my ear. The man fell asleep. The woman didn't. I snapped awake gasping, curled on the couch, nails digging into my palms hard enough to draw blood. That was when I realized something new. The listener wasn't just visiting me. It was showing me others. I took a day off work and drove through the snow to the town records office. My hands shook as I searched property histories, death notices, hospital admissions. The house had changed owners often. Too often. Names repeated in winter obituaries. Strokes. Heart attacks. Complications during sleep. One name kept appearing. Martha Hale. Caretaker. Lived here the longest. Died in winter. Official cause. Hypothermia. I found her address. An assisted living facility on the edge of town. She was small. Frail. Wrapped in blankets despite the heated room. Her eyes sharpened when I mentioned the house. Did it speak to you yet? She asked immediately. My stomach dropped. Yes, I whispered. She closed her eyes. It's late then. I leaned closer. What is it? Her fingers clenched the blanket. Not a ghost. Not a demon. Those are names people use when they're afraid to say the truth. What truth? That it needs us, she said hoarsely. Sleep opens a door in winter. Always has. People used to share beds, share dreams, keep each other anchored. She looked at me. Now we sleep alone. I asked how to stop it. She shook her head slowly. You don't stop the listener, she said. You outlast it. Or you give it someone else. The words settled like poison. That night, the paralysis came fast. No pretense. The listener stood beside my bed, closer than ever. You went digging, it said. Not angry. Pleased. I tried to close my eyes. It touched my forehead. Images flooded in neighbors, co-workers, strangers sleeping peacefully. So many doors, it whispered. Which one will you open for us? I screamed silently. The listener leaned down, voice suddenly intimate. Winter is patient, it said. And so are we. The pressure crushed me deeper into the mattress. And for the first time I felt something worse than fear. I felt temptation. The storm arrived without ceremony. No thunder. No warning. Just a sudden, brutal thickening of the air, as if the world had decided to close its fist around the town. Snow fell sideways, dense and endless, erasing roads, swallowing sound. By dusk, every streetlight was a blurred halo. By nightfall, the house felt buried alive. I knew what that meant. The listener loved storms. Silence stretched long enough for it to move. I spent the evening pacing, every nerve screaming. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't play music. I let the quiet sit, heavy and honest. If it came, I wanted to hear it coming. Midnight passed. 1 a.m. My body grew heavy in ways exhaustion couldn't explain. My thoughts slowed, thick as syrup. I sat on the edge of the bed, fists clenched, repeating Martha Hale's words like a prayer. You outlast it. Or you give it someone else. The idea repulsed me. And yet it lingered. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Gone. Darkness sealed the room. The heater died with a hollow click, and cold rushed in like something alive. Frost crept across the inside of the window in branching veins. Don't, I whispered, not sure to whom. I lay down fully clothed, boots still on, like that might anchor me. The mattress sighed beneath my weight. The moment my head touched the pillow, my body betrayed me. Paralysis slammed down instantly. Violent, absolute. Every muscle locked at once, as if I'd been switched off. Panic surged too fast to control. No, I tried to say. The words stayed trapped behind my teeth. The ceiling above me stretched. Not visually, spatially. The room felt longer, taller, wrong. Corners pulled away from each other like taffy. Shadows thickened into substance. The listener stepped out of the darkness near the door. This time it did not pretend to look human. Its shape wavered, flickering between figures. Men, women, children. All overlapping, all unfinished. Faces slid across its head like masks searching for a fit. Its eyes were deep pits filled with slow-moving light, like stars drowned in water. You're ready, it said, voice layered and resonant. You feel how thin the door is tonight. The pressure on my chest increased until every breath burned. It felt like lying beneath a slab of ice. I tried to shut my eyes. It laughed, a sound like snow collapsing from a roof. Don't hide, it whispered. This is the part you remember forever. It moved closer. Each step pulled the temperature down further. Frost bloomed along the bed frame, crawling over the sheets. My breath fogged in thick, frantic bursts. You learned our name, it said. You listened back. That binds you. The whispers returned. Dozens of them now, circling the room, brushing my thoughts. Choose. Share. Rest. A terrible understanding clicked into place. This wasn't just feeding. It was recruiting. The listener leaned over me, its many faces aligning into one, my own. My own eyes stared back, hollow and exhausted. You could be free, it said gently. No more nights like this. No more fear. Images flooded my mind. Me sleeping peacefully. Waking rested. Living normally again. Then the images shifted. Other people lay frozen in beds. Neighbors. Co-workers. Strangers. The relief remained, just redirected. Winter needs caretakers, it murmured. Just like Martha. Rage flared, sudden and bright. I focused on it. The injustice, the violation, the endless nights stolen from me. I clung to that heat, forcing my mind to burn instead of freeze. I won't, I thought. The listener's smile faltered. The pressure spiked violently, crushing breath from my lungs. Pain screamed through my nerves like electricity. You already are, it hissed. Every time you fear sleep, you call us closer. The room began to fracture. The walls peeled away like wet paper, revealing a vast white emptiness beyond. Snow fell upward, drifting into a skyless void. Time stuttered. Moments repeating, overlapping. I was standing now, somehow, though my body still lay on the bed. Around me, figures stood frozen in place, eyes wide, mouths open mid-silent scream. Their breath hung in the air like glass. Victims. Trophies. The listener moved among them reverently, touching faces, adjusting limbs like an artist arranging a gallery. They never wake fully, it said. Not all the way. That's where we live. It stopped in front of a young boy, no older than 10, eyes fixed on nothing. Some resist longer, it added. They taste better. Something broke inside me. This was the end state. This was what awaited me, or someone else if I gave in. No, I tried to scream. Sound didn't come, but intention did. I remembered something Martha had said, something I'd dismissed in my fear. People used to share beds, share dreams, keep each other anchored. Sleep wasn't the door. Fear was. I stopped fighting the paralysis, stopped thrashing against it. Instead, I let go. The listener froze. "What are you doing?" it asked, and for the first time uncertainty edged its voice. I leaned into the paralysis, sinking deeper instead of pulling away. I welcomed the heaviness, the darkness behind my eyes. "You can't," it said sharply. "You must fear us." I thought of warmth, of summer nights, of sleeping without dread. I let myself fall, not into waking but into true sleep. The void shook. Cracks spread through the white expanse, spiderwebbing outward from me. The frozen figures trembled. Some blinked. The listener screamed, a sound no human throat could make. "Wake up!" it roared. "You belong between." I ignored it. I sank fully into dreaming. Past the thin, fearful surface where it hunted. The weight vanished. The cold retreated. The last thing I heard was its voice. Suddenly distant, furious, afraid. Winter always comes back. Then, black, silence, warmth, and morning. I woke to sunlight. Real sunlight, pale and weak, filtered through a sky still heavy with winter clouds, but unmistakably morning. For a long moment, I didn't move. I lay there, listening to my own breathing, waiting for the familiar pressure to return. It didn't. My body felt normal. Heavy in the way a well-slept body should feel. Stiff but obedient. When I lifted my hand, it moved without resistance. No delay. No invisible grip holding me down. The room looked smaller. Not physically, perceptually. As if something vast had withdrawn, leaving behind a space that remembered being occupied. The frost on the window had melted into thin, uneven trails. Outside, the storm had passed. Snow lay smooth and untouched, a blank page pretending nothing had been written on it overnight. I sat up slowly. My heart waited for terror. None came. Relief followed, then something colder. Absence. The house felt empty in a way it never had before. Not abandoned, hollowed. Like a body after the breath has left it. I moved through each room carefully, half expecting whispers to leak from the walls. The lights worked again. The heater hummed back to life. Ordinary sounds filled the air. Mechanical, human, comforting. Too comforting. In the bedroom, the bed was untouched. No frost. No handprints. No dents in the mattress. Only one thing remained. On the wall beside the bed, faint but unmistakable, were the scratches. They hadn't deepened. They hadn't faded. They simply were. I packed that afternoon. Not because I was afraid it would happen again, but because staying felt like pretending it never had. Some places remember things even after they're gone. Some spaces learn shapes they can't unlearn. I didn't say goodbye to the house. I drove away while the snow still softened the edges of the world. Sleep came easily the first night in the motel. Too easily. That frightened me more than the paralysis ever had. I woke once, heart racing, convinced I had missed something. But there was no weight, no whisper, no presence lingering just beyond thought. Only the hum of distant traffic and the soft rattle of an old heater. Weeks passed. Winter loosened its grip. Snow melted into gray slush. Days grew longer by minutes at a time. I returned to work. I laughed at jokes I didn't remember hearing. I answered questions about my vacation with half-truths and practiced smiles. I slept. Every night. Sometimes, just before drifting off, I felt a flicker of awareness, a pause between thoughts, and my heart would stutter. But nothing followed. Still, I paid attention. Martha Hale died 2 weeks later. Natural causes, they said. Peacefully in her sleep. I didn't attend the funeral. I was afraid of what I might hear whispered over the grave. Spring came. And with it, the forgetting. Not total, never total, but enough to let me function. Enough to dull the edges of memory. The fear shrank, becoming something distant, manageable. A story I told myself I had survived. I almost believed it. Until the first cold night of the next winter. It began subtly. A sense of being watched while brushing my teeth. A hesitation before turning off the light. A dreamless sleep that felt too deep, too sudden. Then one night, lying in bed, I noticed something strange. My breathing wasn't alone. Not another breath. Not yet, but a pause between them that felt occupied. Listening. I didn't move. I didn't panic. I remembered what I had learned. Fear feeds the door. Sleep closes it. I let myself drift fully under. Not hovering, not resisting. The presence retreated. But I knew then what Martha had known. The listener hadn't died. It had moved. Winter didn't need one door. It needed many. Sometimes, late at night, I read forums again. New posts appear every year. Different usernames. Same words. It only happens in winter. I feel something watching me sleep. It knows my name. I never reply. I don't warn them. Because there are some things you can only learn by lying still in the dark, breath shallow, heart racing, realizing that sleep itself has been listening to you your whole life. And on the coldest nights when silence grows too complete, I sometimes wake with the certainty that somewhere, not here, not now, someone has just opened their eyes, unable to move. Learning my fear. Learning my shape. Learning to listen. And I know with quiet, terrible certainty, winter is patient. And it always comes back.